if I may.
Go for it.
This is the October 22nd, 2013 meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. This meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission is hereby called to order under authority of MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I will now call the roll for attendance. Dave DeMonica.
Here.
Bob Garnett.
Here.
Judy Keys.
Here.
Sam Strife.
Here.
Kurt Turner is absent. And Doug Watson.
Present.
Chair. For administrative matters, Mr. Chairman, may I submit a request for reimbursement? This is the registration fees for Commissioner Turner and myself and our attendance at the stream crossing workshop last Thursday. And if you could possibly initial both of those. I got a handwritten receipt with no name on it or anything, and then I've got the emailed receipt for the credit card charge.
Okay.
I figure both together should quell any questions. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't sign the receipt.
Looks good to me.
Yeah. Better than most of the stuff I'm given at work, so.
Anything else administrative?
There's a number of things I don't know that they would be succinct enough to go over. 3 minutes. Yeah, actually. Recently, I believe I reported via email to the commission that in cooperation with Wild Pastures LLC and Georgia Lacus Development on Weathersfield Street, that I posted a section of the conservation restricted properties that the town, through the commission, holds the CR on, but is still owned by the Wild Pastures Development. In the course of that review, or putting that signage up to protect residences that backed up against basically forested uplands, predominantly pine forest, I discovered that it appears that someone is using the CR restricted conservation land for dumping of dead junipers or arborvitaes and overages of premixed concrete, as well as significant grass clippings dumped. The assessor's map aerial photo that's being passed around now seems to indicate that this activity is centered in the backyard of the residence that's outlined, whose property boundaries are outlined in yellow. It appears that that property would be the focus of our possible attentions because the property adjacent to it, that's to the north of it, his yard is completely fenced and closed. It doesn't have any gates. And so the material viewed would have had to be hoisted over fenced enclosure, which,
Or walk around the front and into somebody else's.
well, yeah, it would have been a significant walk though.
Right, right.
On it. I realize this is all circumstantial, whatever, but none of the other backyards that were viewed in the posting of that signage show the same type of possible intrusions.
And this one is unenclosed in the back?
Where on this line?
Right at the top, no, right there is where Woods Road comes in. That yellow indistinct boundary that you see right along where there's a real change in the pine forest
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
that actually follows a stone wall that has a pre-existing woods road within the pine woods there that is intended to be one of the walking paths. And in fact, there's the remains, the cut logs and the grass clippings that you see in one of the photographs there are where the woods road actually comes down along this. The stone wall makes a 90-degree angle following the same boundary of the Wild Pastures estate
Yep.
in that locale. And the woods road actually comes down from what would be the bottom of the page of the south, right along the quote-unquote back boundaries of those roads. And that's the woods road extending into the forested area where I was placing the signage. The concern was that any hunters who happened to be coming in from either Route 1 or from Weathersfield Street, coming in through the woods, would not have any landmarks that would show them that they were getting close to the back of these occupied dwellings. And the sapling undergrowth there, it's this, what we call stocking density of the saplings coming up is extremely thick. You can't see any further than 30 or 40 feet, so
Yeah.
you could potentially be engaged in hunting and not know you were as close to those residences as you were, and so that was the reason for posting signage.
All right.
As well as the signage was specifically obtained because it didn't say no trespassing. It said that passive recreational activities
Right.
are allowed, which is what the purpose of the CR is.
Right, right. So back to the apparent dumping here. What do you suggest?
There's a letter I've obtained from, I think it's the Westford Conservation Commission that addresses the qualities and the need for conservation land and how it, has a value to the whole community. It is not to be used for dumping, and basically requests that the materials be retrieved
Okay.
and taken care of in an appropriate manner. It's
Sort of a-
sort of like a notice of violation letter, but it's
A little bit short of that.
It's nicer.
Okay, why don't we do that? If it doesn't get a response,
Right.
We'll do
Yeah,
something
then we'll
more.
have to figure out something
Okay.
else or.
does that meet everybody's approval?
Yeah.
It's probably dumping concrete is not inadvertent, but it's probably not aware that it's land that belongs to anybody else.
Yeah. Sure.
Wow. Willfully unaware.
Yeah.
Willfully unaware. This is the legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. This is a 7:45 item on the agenda. Raleigh Conservation Commission, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw, a public meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013, at 7:45 p.m. at the Room 5, Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Kendra J. Cooper and Merle D. Phipps for proposed construction of a replacement subsurface sewage disposal system, possibly within the 200-foot Riverview area of Ox Pasture Brook, all at 36 Cross Street, map 24, parcel lot 43, Raleigh, Mass. And on this matter, I'm going to recuse myself from consideration, and I'm going to appoint Mr. Delmonico as the acting chair.
commission just entertain a motion for Mr. DeMonico to become temporary chair during the disposition of this particular issue?
I'll move that suggestion.
Second.
Moved and seconded, could you
All
vote?
in favor?
In favor.
Aye.
Okay, did you ask if there's someone here for that item to present the?
Yes.
Just wait for the official invitation. How you doing?
You're invited.
Thank you very much. My name's Dan Johnson. I'm the design engineer to replace the failed Title V for the new septic system at 36 Cross Street. Actually, on behalf of the new buyers, or soon-to-be new buyers of the property. Basically, what it comes down to is, here's the existing wetland that was done by H.L. Graham Associates. Here's the 100-foot buffer from that wetland. Here's a 100-foot buffer from the wetland, and there's a vernal pool over here. The vernal pool buffer zone is even farther away. And then you have the ox pasture brook, and here's the edge of the riverfront. And this is the 200-foot riverfront here. H.L. Graham did a soil test back a while ago for the upgrade of the existing system. And what we have are two separate sewer pipes that come out of the house, one over here and one over here. We have a walkout basement. You can kind of see the swale here, in which it ended up being a great location since we have two separate sewer pipes for the new septic tank, pump chamber, and the existing leaching area for the proposed 3-bedroom house. Brent and I did a walkover last week in which we decided to show where the erosion control would be, and basically started pretty much from the front property line by this maple tree, head through the swale and up here. That way any work that is done within the area obviously will not impact the wetlands in the riverfront. All septic system components are outside the 100-foot buffer zone. Unfortunately, we just couldn't put them outside of the 200-foot buffer zone for the main reason that not only is where the soil tests were done, but the two sewer pipes coming out had to have a common septic tank location at a pump chamber. Just happens to be that the only way to put them in is within the 200-foot buffer zone. But as I mentioned, everything is out of the 100-foot buffer zone, but was within the 200-foot buffer for the ox pasture brook. The Board of Health has reviewed the plan. There are no questions or comments, but according to Wendy, Ed hasn't officially written the approval letter, but he has reviewed it, and everything seems to be comply with not only their regulations, but Title V. But no official letter has been issued at this point. Any questions or comments regarding the upgraded septic system?
That all currently goes into the existing cesspool?
They have two leaching areas. They have one cesspool out here, and that takes the kitchen and sink area. Then they have a septic tank and a leaching pit, which takes the bathrooms on the far corner by the
Okay.
driveway.
Yeah.
So I said, there's two separate exits, and they have two individual systems.
Which one's failed? Or they both
You know,
failed?
I don't know. I didn't do the Title V inspection. I just understood that they did, one of them or both of them failed. I do not know, and I'm not definitive on that information, other than what was told to me before I was hired on this project.
How are those going to be abandoned?
Simply, well, there's no one living there, so you don't have to pump them, but literally just backfill with clean fill to grade. It's simple as that.
Brent, you have anything?
Yes, if I could just clarify, there's an attribution on the bottom of the plan that gives an address in Hamilton?
This is the buyers, they are the ones who actually hired me. correct?
Oh, okay.
That's why the address is there.
Oh,
The system is actually on behalf of the potential buyers here, even though the homeowner is still
That's
the
fine.
estate and the
I'm
legal.
only asking that because it's different from the applicant's.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Just may. Okay, I just wanted to see, so the erosion control was missing from the first plan, so I just wanted to make sure that it's positioning Well, since you just handed them to me, I didn't have time to read them.
You told me to bring to the meeting.
But that is what we talked
Yes,
about in some
that
of
is
these.
correct, right. Mhm.
That is copacetic, as they say. That's fine.
Well, if nobody has anything else to offer,
You may want to just review for the record the recommended conditions that were set forth
right.
in my memo dated today. So, offering for the commission's consideration that if they find these proposed conditions adequate, they may wish to close the hearing and issue a negative determination, option number 3. With the following conditions, the Raleigh Conservation Commission and its agents shall have the right to enter and inspect the property at reasonable hours for compliance with these conditions and the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Number 2, temporary erosion control, silt fence, or straw wattle correctly installed as per plans to prevent erosion and sediment transport into undisturbed areas, wetland resource areas, or onto abutting property prior to any earth disturbance. Number 3, inspection of erosion control by RCC/staff to verify installation and location. Disturbed areas are to be stabilized by establishment of vegetative cover or other approved methods. 5, the erosion control shall be properly maintained until final stabilization of the disturbed areas. And 6, removal may only occur after inspection by RCC/staff to verify establishment of vegetative cover. And 7, notification of the RCC office upon completion of proposed construction, installation, and stabilization efforts.
Do you have any issues with those?
Absolutely not.
Compliance?
Nope, some straightforward. Yep.
Does anybody in the audience have anything to say?
Yes, I'd like to speak. I'm Attorney Kendra Cooper, Kendra Gordon Cooper, one of the owners of the property. I did want to answer his question. 2 years ago, we had a testing done. The cesspool failed. We knew that wasn't going to work. And I was trying to understand, could you explain a little better how they're planning to connect the septic, or if you can explain how they're planning to connect the pipes that are
Both
from
sewer
the bedroom
pipes?
on that side to the pipes that have a bed?
Well, both sewer
Kitchen and
pipes,
bathroom, I don't understand it. I was trying to look at.
they head out each side of the house, but the good news, because you have the walkout basement with the swale, it's about
Yeah.
a 4-foot, 5-foot elevation drop.
Right,
One coming out from the garage can gravity feed down to a septic tank by the
Right.
outdoor.
right.
The
Are you gonna be
basement.
burying the septic?
Oh yeah, both tanks will be, you won't
So
see
there-
them,
there
other
will
than manhole
still be
covers are
the-
great. The
there'll
swale still
be swale.
exists.
Okay, yeah.
And then the pipe that's coming out the sink will enter on the other side. So the septic
Okay,
tank will
yeah.
kind of be in the middle, where both pipes can come around the house. Then obviously they're at a much lower elevation, so there'll be a pump chamber right next to it to pump up to the
So
leaching
you
area.
mentioned a bedroom, it's gonna be for a 3-bedroom house.
That
was
is
a
correct,
3-bedroom
right.
originally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is the swale that you're talking about?
Yeah, actually, you can kind of see it, right, in both the tank and the pump chamber, just like it shows here.
Right, right.
Kind of set right next to each other.
I don't know what was built.
Just happened to work out that they both can gravity feed down it and then pump up to the leaching area.
If there are no more questions by the commission or anybody in the audience, and Brent, you have nothing more to say? Then, based on these conditions that the Raleigh Conservation Commission has put down, I would like to see if I can get a motion for what, the negative determination option 3 with the following conditions.
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Opposed?
I'm just gonna switch this one over, this one has a little.
Well, that's my copy.
This goes to you. And this one, this one.
And Mr. Johnson, if you would be so kind as to email me complete contact information for the new owners, that includes some type of form of telecommunications number for getting in contact with them, now that I know this, the address is on it.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're all set. I see you.
So now the $1 million question, who do I mail the original
They're still the owners, so send it to
Okay.
Judith and that. And we'll keep the i's dotted and the t's crossed.
Well, I can only say one.
You know how I said originally
So
to the
it's-
attorney to send them to
Send
them
it to
too?
them? Okay.
That's what I would do, because you
Yep.
have 4
And I'll
certified,
mail them
send that,
copies.
send that, right.
Very perfect. Thank you.
You good?
It's more exciting up here.
Where's Mr. Watson?
Yes.
Come back, come back. Callie, I'll leave them free.
Should we go get him?
Don't worry about it. Maybe in the building somewhere. Your power is gone.
You missed my debut.
There weren't any seats.
Feel free to have a cookie.
I haven't been working, you have. All right, so this is the 8 o'clock item on the agenda. This is a legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. A public meeting will be held on Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013, at 8 p.m. at Room 5, Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street, to consider a request for determination of applicability application filed by Martin M. Ryan for proposed construction of a replacement sewage disposal system, possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands at 311 Central Street, map 28, parcel lot 3 in Raleigh.
Hi, Ian Johnson again. I was hired on behalf of the homeowners, the Ryans here, to upgrade their failed septic system, unfortunately failed Title V inspection. One of the things we did before we did even the soil test, Brent and I went out there and we measured out roughly where we thought the wetland was. The good news is, because of the channel, the way it drops down is fairly definitive, so it's relatively accurately delineated. And as I said, Brent and I went out in the field, and this is as shown on the property. This is about 100-foot buffer zone from that wetland. And what we're going to do is upgrade the septic system. Right now, they have a septic tank and an overflow leaching pit and kind of a trench that heads off in this way. What we'll end up doing is keeping the existing septic tank. It actually was structurally sound. We inspected it. And what we'll end up doing is putting a pump chamber and a new leaching field to accommodate the 3-bedroom house. As you can see, all work is out of the septic system components, is out of the 100-foot buffer, other than just a new pipe from the septic tank to the pump chamber. As you can see right here, it would be coming right along this area here, would be the only work that would be done within the 100-foot buffer zone, strictly because the septic tank is pre-existing there.
Right.
We actually looked at to try to relocate it, just to upgrade it. The plumbing just didn't work out. We couldn't raise it high enough anyways. So as a result, we could meet all of Title V's regulations. We have a couple local variances just offset to the barn and garage. Normally they like to see 10 feet from each component. We're 6 feet and 7 feet. But other than that, everything meets, as far as size and the local Board of Health regulations as far as the capacity for the leaching area. The Board of Health, I talked to Wendy today, has not looked at, there's like 2 or 3 others before this as of that point. But when Wendy went out there, actually I went over in great detail what I was going to do. And so they know what's coming at them. They just officially have not reviewed it at this point. But other than just the new 4-inch Schedule 40 pipe from the tank to the pump chamber along with the cover to access the septic tank, that's the only work that is proposed within the 100-foot buffer. Any questions or comments?
So Brent, you're comfortable with the wetland line?
Well, actually, I made a statement that the commission is not being asked.
Not to confirm it,
To
but-
confirm
That is
that. So
correct,
This
right.
is not
Right.
a confirmation of that as
Sure.
being,
But you're comfortable enough with
Yes.
using it as a marker for determining what's in and what's out of the...
yes, Mr. Johnson and I actively appropriately took a couple of points that would have the greatest bearing on the proposed project and did actual taping from there. And I was relatively comfortable with the positioning where we assumed the edge of the bordering vegetated wetlands was. As
We used the site distance right along this barn, so you can measure right on target where we found it. Same with the garage and the house, so we had points of reference. We weren't just out there meandering through the woods trying to find it.
I don't have any other questions. Anyone else? Seems very straightforward. The tank, it's good the tank was usable.
Saved a little bit of money, that's correct, yep.
Brent, anything you want to add to your memo?
well, yeah, if I may, I just wanted to ask about the cesspool that's indicated as existing on the plan. Is that
The existing septic tank, there's no cesspool.
your plan?
It says
Unless I'm looking at the wrong plan.
Existing 1,000-gallon septic tank.
I'm terribly sorry. Excuse my typing.
Oh, that's cesspool, I'm sorry, my fault. That will be relocated, but that's an internal pipe, and that will be pumped and backfilled, just like the other.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask.
That
So,
is
so there
correct.
is actually some more work occurring in the regulated
That is
buffer
correct.
zone
My fault
than
for-
just the,
Forget about that.
just the pipe. And I'm not,
And we
I'm
did
not trying to
discuss this,
bring that
right,
up as a-
when we were out there, that there was this.
I'm not bringing that
cesspool.
up as a negative, I'm bringing
Mhm.
that up as a positive.
But like any abandoned system, it will just be pumped and backfilled, no physical excavation or anything like that,
Right.
right?
And in regards to then the note below that, which says relocate sewer for sink into main sewer pipe, was it a sink that discharged into that
Yes,
cesspool?
it's the kitchen sink. And
Just
all-
All right.
Exactly, and the internal plumbing will be connected to that.
Well,
So
right.
it was just the sink that was going in there?
That is correct from my understanding.
Yeah.
Either way, everything will be
Great.
tied to the
Yeah,
main
just
sewer.
out of curiosity.
Right.
is that- Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
There wasn't a toilet, that's what we're getting to.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't matter because we're fixing it.
That's
So,
Right, that's, just wanted to point out that this has a number of positive environmental benefits, not just
yes.
the replacement of the,
Well, yeah,
of a new Title V sewage disposal system, but also consolidating all the appropriate plumbing and discharges from the structure, so.
Right.
Good, thank you.
You have reviewed Brent's memo?
Yes, I have, yep.
And the conditions set forth in the memo, 7 in number, are acceptable? Or very
Straightforward,
standard
that's correct, yep.
conditions?
Mhm.
Yeah, even though the condition sounds rather boilerplate or whatever, it's part of the reason for them being rather straightforward is because there's been a very conscious effort to put as much of the project outside the regulated buffer, and to this site was especially challenging, and I'm terribly sorry about the loss of your garden area in regards to
The
this.
peppers will be run over.
The good news is that hopefully we can do the harvesting and stuff prior to getting involved here, but because of the garage and the barn or whatever, there was a number of constraints that
Mhm.
position things where they are, but it's obvious that there's been a lot of time and consideration done into siting this system so that it is as far from the wetland resource areas, and therefore the impacts will probably not be existent at all, as well as actually to be a positive in terms of the consolidation of discharges from the residents. And the conditions I offered were the same I just read into the record for the previous agenda item.
Oh, okay. I was just going to consider doing that, but if they were read into the record in this same meeting, I don't think we need to repeat ourselves. They're identical. Any questions from anyone else? Members of the audience, have anything to add? That case, I would consider a motion to close the hearing and issue a negative determination with option number 3 and the 7 conditions set forth in the memorandum. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Delmonico moved. All right. Mr. Strike, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all against? And the motion carries. And thank you.
Thank you very much,
I think
appreciate
that's
it.
Yep,
Thanks.
appreciate it.
You're welcome, thank you.
That's the last thing I looked at. It's the negative determinant.
Next item is administrative.
Yes, so this is the 8:15 item. We're a little early, but I think everybody is here who is interested in it. This is the enforcement order for the land off Main Street in Mud Creek, map 34, parcel 5, Daniel W. McHugh Jr., owned by Mass Audubon Society for the removal of salt marsh vegetation cordgrass, alteration of salt marsh, 310 CMR 10.32, alteration of intertidal zone and land subject to coastal storm flowage, 310 CMR 10.21, and alteration of estimated habitat of rare wildlife, 310 CMR 10.37. In this matter, an enforcement order was issued and approved by the commission on, at the last meeting, October 1st, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
It was issued, not.
It was issued before that.
Not ratified, though.
Okay. Issued but not ratified, okay. So it's set for further review today, and if you folks who are here regarding this could identify yourselves,
Dan McHugh.
okay?
And John Batista.
Okay.
I'm
And
Bill Getty with the Massachusetts Audubon Society at Jumper Flats Education Center and the Rough Meadows Wildlife Sanctuary.
come on in, Bill, and have a seat somewhere.
And I apologize, may I ask Mr. Matitza how you spell your last name?
Yeah,
B-A-T-I-S.
B-A-T-I-S-T-A-O.
B or P at the
B.
B as in brother.
B as in brother, yeah.
Okay. All right, so in addition to the people who are present today, we, the commission, have received 2 letters relevant to this. Well, the first one from Mass Audubon, and the second one from a law firm representing Mass Audubon, Garrity, Levin, and Mura. The one from Mass Audubon dated October 9th, 2013. I will read into the record. Dear Mr. Bazelak, I'm writing in response to a wetland protection enforcement action recently initiated by the Town of Rowley Conservation Commission against Mr. Daniel McHugh of 635 Main Street, Rowley. An enforcement order was issued by the Commission on October 1st, 2013 regarding alteration of various coastal wetland resource areas. This order also indicates the alteration occurred on property owned by Mass Audubon. We are also reviewing this matter to confirm the location of this activity. I also understand you are scheduled to meet with Mr. McHugh on the evening of October 22nd. I plan to have a Mass Audubon representative attend this meeting. At that time, we will be available to provide you with additional information, if any, that may subsequently come to our attention. In the meantime, I can confirm for you at this time that Mass Audubon did not authorize or otherwise approve or consent to the coastal wetland alterations described in the above referenced enforcement order, nor was Mass Audubon aware that such coastal wetland alterations had been planned or executed by Mr. McHugh. Sincerely, Gary R. Clayton, Vice President for Conservation Programs. The second letter dated October 21st, yesterday I believe, from Garrity, Levin, and Muir is 3.5 pages, single space, so I will not read it into the record. I would ask Mr. McHugh and Mr. Batista, have they seen this letter?
No.
Okay, do we have an extra copy for them?
There's a copy of the Mass Audubon communication.
And gentlemen, why don't you take a few minutes to review the letter while we take a brief pause here. Have you seen it?
Mr. Chairman, we also received the map, survey plan from Donahoe and Parkhurst. It was on the backside of the Audubon letter.
Yes. This one?
Yes. Verification that the activities of impact did in fact occur on their parcel.
Have you had sufficient time to look that over? Do you want more time?
I don't need to.
Okay. On the back of the, you also gave them the Mass Audubon letter, right? In the back of that letter, you'll also find a photocopy of a plot plan prepared by Paul Donahoe for the Audubon Society. And the original stamped plan has also been submitted to us. And if you would take a look at that also. And then we also have here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 photographs of the site and a SGIS depiction of the approximate location. So Mr. McHugh.
Good evening.
Good evening. What would you like to say for yourself here?
With the insurmountable deluge of apparent facts and things, I don't know what the heck I could say.
All right.
The land was, they said it's Audubon's property.
Yes.
Can they prove that right now?
It's not.
I'm sorry, sir?
It's not.
No.
Yeah.
Well, from review of the documents
Let me
I've seen.
clear up
Yeah.
one thing for you.
Please.
I think it boils down to one thing.
Okay.
I never believed for a minute that you could deal with Audubon or Greenbelt, who I have never had any like or respect for. The mountain of misinformation is incredible to me. Some of the stuff I would tell you, for those, I'm sure Sam would know, Kurt if he was here, I think Judy knows, I've been a salt marsh hay farmer for 53 years in this town. I've cleaned the ditches and cut the hay on every square inch of that land numerous times. And at one time or other in my life, I owned 100% of that land out there. So, based on some of the violations, based on the town bylaw, it clearly says on page 5 that salt marsh hay farmer, cutting salt marsh hay and maintaining my fields, which happen to be the best looking fields in the whole county, if you take a look. You spend thousands of dollars with mosquito control to clean the mess on the west side of the street, which are not mine. And mine would be the exemplary ones. I had various times sold some of the property. The largest chunk that I sold was, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago to my good friend and neighbor and land partner for 35 years, Dr. Al Chandler. Al Chandler and C.G. Rice that owns quite a bit of the land out on the Rowley River. And myself used to have roast wild duck dinners at the cottage. I was on the point there on the Rowley River. And we worked together for 40 years to purchase property, knowing full well eventually we would deed that property to Audubon, but not particularly to Greenbelt, because I wouldn't have done that. So from day on, they respected my opinion, at least to that extent. As a salt marsh hay farmer, everything I did, doesn't matter whose land it's on, I have a right to do it, unless I'm trespassing, of course. Every piece of land that I sold to Al Chandler, which then went to Audubon, I required them to maintain for me, in perpetuity, not my lifetime, for the people who will be cutting the hay after me, in perpetuity, the rights to cut the salt marsh hay, maintain those fields, maintain the drainage ditches, and everything in the normal operation of a salt marsh hay farm that I'm allowed to do under the Massachusetts state laws. So, whether it's Audubon's property now or not, to me, doesn't matter. I have the right to do that. I don't ask anybody the day before I go out and clean ditches. I don't ask anybody. I'll be out there cutting hay next week. I haven't decided where I'll cut it, but I'll be out there. Same as what I've done for 53 years, exercising the rights that I reserved before I sold any of those parcels of over 200 acres of land to anybody. And just because of this very situation is why I reserve those rights. They don't talk to me. They don't tell me what they're doing. They don't ask me if it's okay to do anything. Actually, they block off roads that I use. Fortunately, I've maintained other areas that I can get on the same property if I choose not to be bothered dealing with those issues. Lastly, I still own 63 acres on the north side of Stackyard Road, 19 off of 1A where they're talking about, and nobody, no engineer, the engineer's full of baloney. Whatever he put his stamp on, frankly, is a lie, because you cannot resolve the boundaries out there unless you have the map of that area that I spent years of my life figuring out and going all the way to Canada to buy property from the rightful owners. You couldn't straighten the boundaries out to save your neck. If you look at that boundary map of the town, lot, whatever they call it, 5 or something, it's a huge piece of property out in the salt marsh, isn't it? You look at any other piece of salt marsh and their postage stamps. Make you wonder. It's not one piece of property. It's 14 pieces. And I did not sell all 14 to Al Chandler at the time. But whether I did or not, what difference does it make? I kept in writing, signed by Al Chandler, as my precondition for selling, in perpetuity, the right to do what I'm doing. So, Audubon, good luck to them. They haven't talked to me since I sold the farm to them. Well, we'll call it sold. They don't even wave when they go by my door. And I don't talk to them. Not a chance. Before hell freezes over for the second time, that I'll go ask for permission for anything. That's where I stopped. I got the elbow.
The problem is, Mr. McHugh.
Problem is, yeah.
Let me just
What is the
tell you
problem?
what I see the problem is.
Okay.
Certainly, everyone else here can express their thoughts on the problem.
Mhm.
That we're not a board that decides legal things,
I know that.
but what we have in front of us is what appears to be an informed opinion by a lawyer that you don't own those rights. That's the lawyer's opinion. I don't have a contrary opinion.
Yeah, you can take me to court.
Yeah. But we're not the court that he'd take you to.
That's right.
We're also not land surveyors, but we have a land survey that
Yeah.
says it's on the property that Audubon owns.
Mhm.
So your argument,
I have hundreds of those that are in error myself.
I understand, but you don't have any of them with us today, at least you haven't given them to us yet.
No.
So the evidence we're presented with is a survey by a certified land surveyor that says it was on Audubon property, and I actually don't necessarily think you're denying it's on the property that you sold
I
to them.
don't see any reason to.
Yeah. And then we have an opinion by an attorney
Mhm.
that you didn't retain those rights. That as a matter of law, you didn't retain those rights.
Well, I have those in writing.
Okay, you may have them in writing, but it doesn't mean they exist unless the court determines it, or at least a legal opinion, defendable legal opinion is presented to us on the subject.
Okay.
The only one we have from Mr. Jonathan Levin says very clearly,
I know John Levin.
upon his sale of the McHugh parcels, Mr. McHugh's rights under the appurtenant easement were extinguished, and since such sale, Mr. McHugh had and has no current rights to, quote, harvest salt marsh hay and/or maintain ditches, close quote, on the property. That's a pretty unambiguous opinion, considering it's from a lawyer,
Mhm.
and it's all we have. And unless you can present something to the contrary that's equally credible, our role as a conservation commission is not to decide the legal question, but rather to decide the conservation-related questions.
So,
And I think anyone would agree
Yeah.
that you
So-
can't,
so
regardless of whether you're a salt marsh hay farmer or not, you can't salt marsh hay on someone else's property. You can't trespass.
So
to do that.
you are gonna enter that legal scrambled eggs for me, that I need to show you that they don't own those
Well, the
rights.
land we were on.
That's right.
I thought you just said you're not a legal entity that would.
Well, you understand the problem. We're not. But that's
Okay,
the
so-
only evidence we've been presented.
Well, what's that got to do with this board if you're not the
Well-
legal authority in that matter?
Well, because we
So-
do have to regulate the alteration of coastal resources.
All right, I'm willing to speak to that also.
Yeah, but I would suggest to you, and I'd like to hear anybody else's thoughts on this, but I would suggest to you that if you don't own the right to be on the property, you can't get to any other question. You have to have the right to be there in order to have any right
So
to...
you're making a determination right now based on one letter from one lawyer
Mhm.
that I don't have that right.
It's all we have, sir.
That's all you have.
We haven't been presented anything else.
Well,
Is there,
no.
okay, go ahead.
So, all due respect, one lawyer to me in my lifetime doesn't amount to a hill of beans. I've seen many of them come and go, and many of them go to jail for lying and doing crooked things. But,
If I can interject here.
and
there's a
that
few-
one
there's a
lawyer's
few other-
opinion is as good as anybody's. Everyone's got an opinion.
There's a
Good
few
luck to
other
him.
facts and evidence, though. The Raleigh Town Assessor's Office
Mhm.
lists the parcel under the ownership of the Massachusetts Audubon
They've been wrong for
Society.
years.
Their records relate to a deed which has been obtained and put in our file.
Those very same maps and records say these are
Which
for
does not-
assessment purposes only, not
The deed-
determination of
The deed that
ownership.
they reference, which is down in the Essex County South District Registry of Deeds, does not make any reference to rights
No, no.
by Dan McHugh for any agricultural activity. Again, you can quibble about,
Not quibbling about anything, I'm stating facts.
well, the problem is, your verbal statements are not accompanied by any substantive factual records retained by any other municipal government and entity or recognized authority in regards to the statements you're making, Mr. McHugh.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna say anything other than that in regards to the commission does have a set of regulations that we operate under, promulgated with the Wetlands Protection Act, that talk about agricultural activities, but they also specifically mention that the land has to be under the care and cultivation of the person who is engaged in the activities which may be deemed as qualified for the agricultural exemption. So
That's not correct.
that's not correct.
No, it's
You
not.
have to have an ability to enter onto land by some means in order to engage in those activities.
That is not stated in the state regulations. And you know that
But
as
Mr.
well as
McHugh,
I do, okay? So that right there is wrong.
It doesn't say that it has to be under cultivation? I believe it does.
No, it doesn't.
Well,
It's
wait a
salt
second.
marshing is an exempted use.
Yeah, but Mr.
Okay.
McHugh,
Exempted.
only on property you have the right to enter upon.
The lawyer said that when he sold the land, that he lost the rights to cut the hay, correct?
Yes.
Did he prove that? That he lost the rights? Is there written proof in the contract? Did he send you a copy of the contract or anything?
It's not in the contract, it's in the deed.
Is it?
It's in what deed?
The deed you signed. The way it works,
The
you should
deed I
read the letter.
signed
Now.
to the Audubon?
Would certainly be
To Al
helpful if you consulted an attorney about this, because this
I'm
is a
not gonna
fairly.
spend the money.
Well, this is
Don't
a
you get
fairly fine point of law that
It's not
a
as
real
fine
estate
as you
lawyer
think.
would need to explain to you.
All you need to do is prove that it's not their land.
I'm not
But the-
proving anything, look.
Can they
But
prove it's
the,
their-
hang on,
First of all, they didn't buy that
It's
land
not-
in this most recent sale that he's talking about. And I didn't sell the land to the Audubon, I sold it to my land partner,
correct.
Al Chandler,
Who then,
many years ago, who then gave it to the Audubon.
correct. And therein lies your problem.
It's
is
not a
that
problem
when-
because Al signed the necessary papers with Attorney Tom Guidi in Danvers, clearly giving me the right to continue what I've done now for 53 years. I
Well-
would not sell it otherwise. You don't
It
seem to
wouldn't
be
make sense.
interested in that, but that's a fact.
I'd be very interested in an attorney telling me that in his professional opinion, or her professional
Yeah, I'm
opinion,
sure you would.
then that would be a different question, but I don't have that attorney saying that.
So
It
if,
just so happens I'm an attorney myself.
yeah, so
I
you
do
want
know
to,
something
so
about
you,
this.
yeah, so you want to believe unless we clear up
Just-
that legal issue,
Yeah,
we don't want to even talk about the rights I have as a salt marsh farm.
you can't. Unless you
I
can
can't.
convince us that you have the right to enter the property. And I don't see any way to convince me of that with what's in front of us today.
Well,
So the only question
I'm
we can
actually
read.
not too interested in convincing anybody,
Yeah.
okay? To be honest with you.
Well, Mr. Geddes, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, it's worrisome to us that we own the property, and Mr. McHugh says, regardless of who owns it, he doesn't care who owns it,
No, I didn't say I don't care who owns
or
it.
where it exists, or at what time he does it, he's gonna salt marsh anywhere he wants to. That's what I just heard him say.
Well,
This is
you-
very
You
troubling.
heard wrong.
Well, let's just not interrupt each other, okay? And Mr. McHugh, if you don't mind letting him finish, and then we'll certainly listen to you as long as you want to talk.
In this conversation, he said he contends he has the right for perpetuity to salt marsh anywhere he wants to, at any time, whenever he wants to. He said that. I wrote it down. And that's very troublesome for us, because we own, in concert with a fantastic conservation organization, the Essex County Greenbelt, 250 acres of land. And we're very much worried that at any point, Dan or his people could show up on any part of our property and start mowing. That's very, very troubling. And so when we see, and the police officer, and then Brent goes to the scene and says it's on our property, and we confirm it's on our property, and we confirm that the rights, any rights that he may have had were extinguished because it goes with the land and not with the individual, then we're very much concerned about how can we protect our property from additional damage?
And I certainly share your concern. It's actually the same concern that we have. I'm speaking for the commission, I think I can speak for the commission on this. We are willing to discuss with you your rights as a salt marsh hay farmer on land you have right to access. Everything in front of us indicates that you have no right to access that land. I would recommend that you take this letter that I gave you a copy of from Mr. Levin and consult with an attorney, no matter how distasteful you may find that.
Very.
Yeah, I take it.
Yeah.
And see what you think your rights actually are. The letter is pretty persuasive. That's not to say a contrary letter couldn't be persuasive, but there's no such letter.
Okay.
No, okay, I understand. That's good. Okay, we're out of here. Let's go.
Just gotta get the deed and that's it.
I'm not gonna do any of that. None of it.
The position we're in at this point is you don't appear to have the right to have done what you did on that land or anything else on that land without permission. So the only question we can reach is, how are you going to fix it? How is it going to be remedied? And I don't see how we cannot move on to that issue unless you can tell me that you think you can present a coherent legal argument to rebut this legal argument.
We're not going to.
Would you like?
Postpone, so we get everything set up.
I could care less.
So that we can get the paper.
What would you like to do?
Pardon?
What would you like to do?
I'm gonna do what I've done for 53 years, and I'm gonna exercise the rights that I reserved when I sold the property to my partner, Al Chandler, knowing full well that it was gonna be given out one. If they're not up to speed on that, or wanna change those facts, good luck to them, and if you want me to go to the legal expense of doing what you want, I'm not willing to do
It's
it.
not that I want you to do it.
I'm not going
I'm trying
I can tell you
to
right
suggest
now.
to you that that's what you'd have to do to convince us, I think. And again,
Yeah.
I'm speaking for the whole commission, so anyone should speak up who thinks that there's a
Yeah,
refinement
that's
you'd like
fine.
to add.
I'll only go on, and the misstatements here are, I clearly said on property that I owned at one time and sold reserving those rights. I was real clear about that. I don't know how that got garbled, but it did. Okay? I owned it all at one time. I withheld the rights to do the salt marsh haying when I signed the deed to sell it, and I got paperwork in writing to prove that.
Well,
I also, the ownership of that large parcel, they can spend the money to prove it. They don't own it all, frankly. There's more parcels out there than they know of. The acreage doesn't even add up. Simple math would tell you that, but I'm not gonna go to the expense of proving that either.
Right. But you see, sir, they went to the expense of
Good.
having a plot plan drawn.
Nice
They paid
job.
for that.
Yeah, nice,
They went to the expense of having an attorney submit us a detailed letter.
nice job.
They didn't have to do those things, but they chose to do them.
Nice job.
If you choose to do something similar,
I
we'll
don't.
certainly hear you.
I can tell you right now, I don't.
Yes, sir.
How many acres are,
No, don't,
no?
it's not even
Not
good
wrong.
math. Yeah.
You see, it doesn't matter how many acres there are, because again, we're not deciding that. It just matters whether that particular piece of
You want
land.
to put in front of discussing my rights as a hay farmer, you want to rest on the legal interpretation of what that lawyer says and what you think I should come back and have my lawyer say. You want to mitigate legal rights here
No.
to land.
Well,
We're
but
just
you-
trying to tell you, if you want to tell your side of the story, to refute, deny, whatever, their side of the story, the way would be what he recommended. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, hire a
If that's
lawyer,
what you want.
hire a lawyer, spend money, for what?
Well, but
For what I carefully reserved and spent a lawyer to give me the paperwork to reserve many years ago from my land partner,
Where is that document, Mr. McHugh?
Yeah.
in my possession.
Well, then sure.
It needs to be recorded within the chain of title of the property. I mean,
Why?
this is a country and a system of laws.
Recording is not required, it's recommended. That's not a legal requirement. I have unrecorded deeds, I have a drawer full of them. The minute I record them, I get a bill from the tax collector. I run the risk of somebody else recording a deed saying something different from what I own, but the good people I bought property from in this town wouldn't do that. I'm fine.
That's not this property, though,
The
because
prob-
you did sign a deed on this property.
Not on,
No,
no.
on that property.
No, the
They
boundaries
just
are
tell
not
you it's
correct.
that property.
Well,
And the biggest problem is that if we can't even see the document that you're referring to,
Right,
we can't believe it exists, right?
right,
You have to bring it to-
that's fine.
So if that's the way you want to keep that, obviously, things won't go right.
Well, I guess it's something that's gonna be determined in court. Because, once I put deeds out in the open, all of a sudden boundaries are cleared up and straightened, the stuff that people have been trying to do, but they're too lazy to go do the title work. I'm not interested. I've been 53 years buying parcels down there. I know everyone that owned everything. I know their family. I know the hay farmers before me that hate them. Down to Jeremiah McLeod.
I'm not,
Nobody
I'm not
is.
doubting you in the slightest about that.
Well, they
But
are.
the fact of the matter is that,
They are, and Audubon is, and...
well, I am too.
Yeah, I
Because-
understand.
If you expect me as a public official to simply take your word on that when someone else has documentation,
Hmm.
how can I?
Well, then, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not like we're denying it, we just need to be, it needs to be proven to us in the same manner that
Mm.
has been presented already.
Same way they flooded you with paperwork, the same way they've done to me in the past, yeah.
well,
I'm not
it's just
upset.
two pieces of paper that they've given us, but they're two pretty important ones.
Yeah.
One is a
Sure,
land
see.
surveyor who says where the offense occurred, and the other one is an opinion by an attorney about whether you have the rights.
Yeah.
Those are,
These people all talked to me, did they, when they made these determinations?
no, probably not.
No, that's right, none of them did.
No, and we're
Yeah.
giving you an opportunity to be heard about it, but
Really?
like Sam just said,
And this is the right venue to do that, huh?
it's,
Draw this crap up in your own imagination, yeah, stop using it.
but you know, the problem is we can't let you do something. We can't even talk about whether you can do something on land you don't have the right to be on. And that's the way it looks right now.
I mean, how can we make a determination if we don't understand exactly what we need to know as part of your as part of what you say is your land? If we don't have that, how possibly can we determine either yay or nay? I mean, so we're only getting half the story,
Yeah,
but you don't want to tell the other half.
that's right.
That may.
I'm not putting deeds on
Alright, so
record,
what do you want to do?
that's all.
We
Nothing.
don't have to put it on record, just show
Yeah,
the deeds.
somebody can take me to court, I guess
All right,
that's where we'll go to court, and
we'll make it-
that's
we'll
the
make
way
it
it
more-
gets, yeah, that's how it gets settled. I guess.
Well, how do you want to proceed? Do you want us to,
I intend to exercise the rights that I know I have and cut hay,
I
And
understand that statement.
maintain drainage ditches.
Um,
So,
I hope you do not trespass in doing that, because you'll just escalate this problem significantly.
yep, and if I do, the consequence is what? We go to court, or they go to court, or who
You go
goes
to
to court?
It's
Out of
it's gonna be
our
up to the landowner what they wish to do.
I expect that's who it's up to.
Yeah.
So there's no point in even discussing it here, because there isn't gonna be anything done about that issue.
Can I-
And in lieu of that, you don't wanna discuss anything to do with what rights a salt marsh hay farmer has under your own laws
Well,
of the town and under the laws of the state.
I'd
So-
love to discuss that with you, if it were on a parcel that you had the right to salt marsh hay on.
Yeah.
So you could salt marsh hay on a parcel you own and then we'll
Seems to
discuss it with.
me,
But if you prove that you have the rights, then we can discuss that.
I hear you, yeah, then I
Other than
guess
that,
we can
it's a-
discuss it, right?
No, there's no
So
point to
there's nothing
discussing.
discuss.
There's nothing to
Exactly.
discuss until you get past the proving the
I
initial problem.
don't- I won't get past that issue, okay?
Okay,
I won't be past it.
all right. Mr. Getty's been very patient to, wanting to say
Well,
something, so.
I mean, Dan has, Mr. McHugh has a number of times said he's gonna mow whenever he wants to, wherever he wants to. We as Mass Audubon, and remember that the town of Rowley made a significant contribution to the purchase of this land. We have to protect our rights to that property. We cannot tolerate somebody coming onto our property without permission, modifying the salt marsh, which was clearly done, because we have no rights to do it. Under law, we are not permitted to do it.
That I
And
agree.
we are not longer permitted to let anybody else do it. We have to protect our property. We're gonna have to do that.
I suspect that's correct. So I don't know why we're discussing that here.
They certainly don't have the rights that a farmer has.
Exactly.
I agree with
I
that
agree
too.
with that.
Thank you.
I think we'd all agree with that. But
Unless
the
they
fact
wanted
of the
to make a
matter is,
concerted effort
if
to
it's,
cultivate.
what?
Unless they wanted to make a concerted effort to cultivate it.
Yeah, if they want to
Just put it
become,
under
in essence,
cultivation.
farmers, then they could do that. Yes, absolutely. I'm not saying that they can't do it. I'm saying that in the current
Presently, it's not their.
situation, right?
And
And, you know, the other side of the coin is that if it's their property and they feel they have the ownership, I
I'd say they're the
suspect
ones
you'll
who
be
need to,
considered trespassing at
they're the
some
ones who
point.
need to take action on that, wouldn't you say that? Not this board.
And we wouldn't take action on that. However, we do have an outstanding item on this, so
Mhm.
we will take action in that manner.
Mhm.
We have to.
Okay, I suspect you will. Not interested in hearing my interpretation of my rights.
You've probably told me,
Hmm?
you've probably told me about as much as you could, because I fully understand the situation
Yeah.
that you're saying. Question is, who's right?
Mhm. Well, I will just say one thing in closing. I don't think that the discussion of the rights of a salt marsh hay farmer with this board needs to be thrown into the bailiwick of ownership. I could lease property from people. I have people that have told me it's okay to cut their property. They don't own every speck of marsh out there. I do remember Ruth Alexander describing the Alexander Salt Marsh Reservation, waving her hand over my farm at one time, but thank God I don't listen to that anymore. But beyond that, I don't know what we're talking about if we're not talking about what a salt marsh hay farmer has the right to do. What you call violations in here are not violations for a salt marsh hay farmer, but you seem intent on making it a land ownership, rights ownership issue as a prerequisite for discussing the rights I have as a salt marsh hay farmer. I don't respect that.
Only from the standpoint of trespassing.
Only from the, yeah, that's their problem, isn't it?
Yeah,
Huh?
no, that's right.
So
Right.
they should
Well,
come to
Not
us.
yours.
Well, no.
Well, no,
Oh, it's yours too.
Yeah, well, because no salt marsh hay farmer, even one like you, even one with 53 years of experience, has the right to salt marsh hay someone else's land.
So,
And there's the problem.
so this is a hearing about real estate rights and not about the other violations in here.
Yeah.
In that, In the order that we have
Because-
to address it, yes.
No, you have to
Because-
address it that way.
Because the way the law is written says that if you are an existing farmer, and I consider this agriculture just the same as if it was dry land, right? Because I don't see any difference. If you're an existing farm, I'm almost forgetting what I was gonna say. If you're an existing farmer, then you have rights to do these things. But you can only do them on those areas that you have the right to be on. If you don't have the right to be on that area, to farm that area, and if you go back and look through that, you'll see it talks about farmland that has been farmed for a period of over 5 years and so on, which I suspect you know that section of it.
53 should cover it, huh?
Yeah, right. Then, the point is that the farmland has to have been farmed for that period, and it has to still belong to that farmer in some manner.
Yeah. The rights,
The
or
right
ownership,
fees,
or leases, or
if you have a
many
long-term
different
lease,
ways.
if you have any other, as long as it's a legal right.
Yeah.
But
Rights, right.
if you don't have a right to farm the piece of land that you're on,
Mhm.
then you are in violation of the law. That is the portion that we are enforcing.
So you're,
So
all
you
of
can call it a
this,
land rights argument that we're doing, we're not doing a land rights argument. We're simply enforcing that law that says that you have to farm, you can only farm property that you have the right to farm.
yeah.
And if it's not property that you have the right to farm, and you violate wetlands law, then we have to enforce that.
And where is it listed in here that that's what you're enforcing? Everything I read was,
I just explained it.
yeah, it doesn't say that in this violation form, does it?
It's,
That,
It's in the
you
regulations.
have in your hands the regulations.
yes, I do. I know
Right. And I know you've read them.
that.
I
Many,
know you're
many
pretty
times.
familiar with them.
Yeah.
You know what's in there.
I do know what's in
That
it.
form is simply an abbreviation of the law.
But there's nowhere in this form does it question my legal rights.
No, because,
It questions every other right that I know I have, Sam.
but it
So,
references the law, doesn't it?
not the one that discusses the legal right. This references violations on the salt marsh, violations of the buffer zone, and violations of the coastal bank zone.
Form references Mass
Yeah.
310. It references the law.
It does. And where is that?
References chapter 131, section 40,
131.
and then the promulgating regulations under 310 CMR.
It references it. You couldn't, if we had to mail out one of those copies of that whole law to everybody that
I
violated it,
don't have to, I keep it handy.
it's in there.
Just as our permits don't, the issuance of our permits don't allow us the right of entry as
Well,
Yep.
yeah. So, I guess what do we do here? I'll take it under advisement at my own peril.
Yep.
Good enough.
Got a lot of peril there.
Sounds like it
Got
by
peril
those
of
fines that are
violation.
listed.
You've got peril of violation of the conservation law, and you've got peril of violation of property law, which means police can arrest you for trespassing.
Yeah, well, it's absolutely the property I was on is not owned, is not owned by Mass Audubon. It doesn't even say it.
I'm glad I don't have to
It
explain
does
that
not
to
say it
them.
on the town maps. Actually, the town maps, which are not correct, say the property belonged to Stanley Peichel.
Well, if they're not correct, then we don't have to worry about them, do we?
That's
It doesn't
kind of,
seem
that's
to
kind
say
of my,
that.
that's kind of my impression too. I agree with you. And when we finally get to court, I guess what a waste of time and money it will have been when everyone finds out that that's owned by Stanley Peichel. The land I was standing on at the time. Peichel Trust. It's even on your town records incorrectly.
No, that's not what it says on our town records.
Well, Mr. Donahoe's plot plan puts the violations to the east of the lot line representing the old ditch. Photographs seem pretty consistent with that.
Yes,
Mr.
if
Breslak was
in
there.
fact those are the lot lines.
That's what has to be proven.
Okay.
The guy's a genius, took me 50 years to figure it out. He did it in, what, a couple of hours one afternoon?
Well,
Like the
So
builders.
come back to us with proof that it was on someone else's land and it's a different situation.
Okay.
All
right.
No. You're talking about putting deeds on record that I keep in a drawer for a good purpose. Not impressive.
Well, you might,
Your use of circuitous logic is serving you well, Mr. McHugh.
No, it won't. It'll get us to court, and I guess we'll straighten it out there.
I guess that's your intended goal, so like I said.
I kind of expect that's what.
Mr. McHugh, before you leave, can I
Yeah.
just ask you a question, procedurally speaking? Do you want to come back here in 3 weeks with whatever proof you have on these things? If I afford you that opportunity, is that something you would value and would take up? Or are you pretty much done with us?
I'm being told that I will probably do that.
Yes,
Being
please.
told?
Yes, please.
Well, there's other people who are part of my day in operation that expect to continue in perpetuity.
Okay.
I realize my days could be numbered.
I will consider asking the board, and then you should certainly stick around if you want to see what happens, but we'll consider asking the board to reschedule this, put this on the agenda for the next meeting 3 weeks from now. If you think there is some point to that. I don't want to do that if you're not going to come back to us with something substantive that makes a difference here.
Yeah, well, I guess 3 weeks will be enough time for me to provide you with that paper.
All right. In that case, let me just ask Mr. Bazelak a question or two about this. The site of the violation, is there sort of would you term it an ongoing environmental hazard out there at this point? Is there something that has become seriously destabilized?
No.
Yeah, that was my impression. Would you agree, Mr. Getty?
I do
as the
agree.
Current property owner. So I don't see the harm in giving you 3 weeks. I don't see the harm environmentally speaking, and that's really our only agenda. And I want to give you a chance to say whatever it is you have to say. I suggest again, you need some professional assistance in this. They've brought that to the table, you need to bring that to the
So
table.
53
So it's
years
the same date?
in 3
I'm
weeks.
sorry.
We got 53 years in 3 weeks.
Well, it hasn't been continued yet, but if it is continued, it would be continued
November 12th.
to November 12th.
All right, I'm just gonna write that.
It's always on Tuesday, almost always on Tuesday, and it's 3
Same
weeks
time?
from now. Well, we start at 7:30, but
I would email an agenda.
yeah, the agenda times don't get set until a few days before, so
Okay.
we'll email it to you, and you can also check with Brent if you need to know.
All right,
Okay,
all right, thank you.
okay. Do I have a motion to continue the hearing of this to the November 12th meeting?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? All right, then, we'll see you all in 3 weeks.
Thank you.
I hope, Mr. Geddes, that's not objectionable to you. I would
But
also hope.
We think our case is,
All right,
I mean, all the facts we believe that you need are there, but
I understand. Just trying to give everybody an opportunity to be heard.
Thank you.
I would also hope that we don't end up with a situation of police enforcement and trespassing and that sort of thing between now and then. I can't tell you what to do, Mr. McHugh, but I would hope we don't have that to deal with as well in 3 weeks.
I intend to cut Salt Marche the next 2 weeks.
Well, the commission has issued a cease and desist
Not
on the
there, though, not there.
on the particular parcel in question, so
I won't
You
do
have-
the parcel that's in question.
that's what I'm saying, you have verbally attested to other acreages that you can hay on, so.
Excuse me, from a Mass Audubon perspective,
Yeah.
we don't want any salt marsh haying on any property that's owned by the Massachusetts Audubon
I
Society.
think that
Yes.
Mr. McHugh understands that.
Which is why I reserved that right when I sold the property to Alexander.
And that's what
I
we'll
was
see if
fully
we can
aware
decide next
that
time.
that would be their position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Geddes.
Thank you, appreciate your help. Is there any other information that we could give you that would be helpful in any way?
Oh, I think you've really covered it, frankly. You did exemplary job of giving us what we need.
Thank you, good night.
Mr. Chairman, we also have the police report from the responding officers in our record too.
Okay. Make sure I mention that at the continued hearing, because this
Well,
hearing's
well,
not been
right.
continued already, so these go back in there, I think. Or maybe they're just my copies.
They're just
Yeah.
copies for the
Okay.
commission to have. Yeah. If the discussion advances at all, the policeman's report may be germane. But right now, you correctly identified the first bottleneck within the process of being able to make some sense out of this.
Yeah. So the next thing is 111 Newburyport Turnpike, but nobody's here. What's with that? Okay, yeah, I'm
Un
sorry.
momento, please, por favor.
Next two items. That's right. Good. Calls for a cookie.
We received this email from the applicant in regards to my request as to whether they had any information to submit or whether a continuance would be contemplated.
So this is an email to the commission from Rob Nixon. Rob Nixon. The applicant was
Well, the-
Artistic Landscapes LLC.
right,
Tony
Rob
Curry.
Dixon is one of his professional consultants, along with William Holt and Thad Berry.
Okay, all right. So the email from Rob Nixon to the commission is, this is dated October 10th, 2013. Please continue this to the next meeting, Brent. Thank you, Rob, sent from my iPhone. And by this, he refers below in his email to the 8:40 and 8:45 agenda items on tonight's agenda. So that's the two matters pertaining to 111 Newburyport Turnpike.
Right, notice of intent and stormwater management permit
Correct.
application.
First one's the stormwater management, and the second one is a notice of intent. For the stormwater management permit item, do I have a motion to continue this to the October 12th meeting? November 12th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the motion carries. And for the 8:45 item, this is the notice of intent. Is there a motion to continue to the November 12th meeting?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Put this back in. What else we got? File for.
Land off of Daniels Road, the continued notice of intent.
Okay, so that's the 850 item. This is the continued notice of intent for land off Daniels Road, map 9, parcel 23, Tompkins Desjardins Trust, Bruce Tompkins trustee. And on
I
this,
had received this communication, which ultimately, I think the last sentence requests a continuance, but I wanted to let the commission know that we are, Mr. DeCoulis was here earlier, but apologized and requested being able to depart because his wife just had second knee surgery. And so there is a communication in here which, I guess you might as well read both into the record here or look at them and consider.
okay, so first in time is October 10th from Mr. DeCoulis, representative of the applicant, to the Conservation Commission. We are diligently working on completing the stormwater pollution protection plan required by the EPA and the long-term pollution protection plan that is required by the DEP, and need more time to complete them. Kindly continue the public hearing for the Marion Way project, DEP file number 63625, to your November 12th meeting. Then the second letter dated today and hand-delivered by Mr. DeCoulis earlier in the evening is to the Conservation Commission. Enclosed, please find the following: 7 copies, construction period pollution prevention and erosion and sedimentation control plan, together with EPA stormwater pollution prevention plan, DBC bound, and 7 copies of erosion and sediment control plan drawing dated October 7, 2013, our file number 272-6S10, and check to Horsley and Witten for $3,675. And Mr. Baselak is holding his head in despair. That's never good.
Supposed to make a check out to us.
Oh, is it indeed?
We're hiring. We hire.
Did you look at the check? Did he actually do it right?
Yes.
All right.
And also, there's only 5 sets of materials here, not 7.
Okay,
I
so
think he's preoccupied, but
Sure,
I can understand.
if you could contact Mr. DeCoulis and ask him for 2 more copies and also for a replacement check. And
Well, actually, if I may say, unless all the commissioners want to have a set of these documents, I suggested to him to just bring an abbreviated
oh, okay.
file such as he did with, because in the past I've found that not all the commissioners, and not, this isn't to mean anything, but
No.
some commissioners prefer to read stormwater pollution prevention plans, and then other ones do not necessarily find them to be the most enlightening
Find them.
set of written materials that they've ever put
I
their
find
hands
them
on.
totally impenetrable.
They're
Or else they might just fall asleep.
It's a great story, cover to cover.
Yeah, right, so it keeps some people awake with excitement and puts others of us to sleep. Yeah. So yes, I think five probably will suffice, especially since we only have 6 members of the commission anyway.
Right.
Okay, so belay that, but I think we do need the check replaced.
Yeah, we do.
So if you can send us a replacement, we'll tear that one
Yeah,
out.
I'll request that we do a check swap.
Okay, and then to finish his second letter, I'll just read the rest of it. Kindly submit a copy to Horsley and Witten for their technical review based on their proposal of August 28, 2013, which we will do as soon as the check is straightened out. So I need a motion to continue the public hearing in this matter to November 12th.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and all against, and the motion carries. Let's go to you.
Thank you. If I may.
Yep.
I think because we do, well, let's see if you agree with my idea here, because you can certainly curb my enthusiasm. But where I believe we finally have received the documentation needed to make his notice of intent application complete, and therefore being able to engage the services of Horsley and Witten, may I initiate their review with the idea that we do have a check, so in a sense we do have the funds, and I will initiate a check swap so that it is made out to the town of Raleigh, so that we can then appropriately control our consultant by reimbursing them whereupon they bill us. But I see no reason to not initiate them starting.
As long as they're fine with that, I don't think they'd have any issue, but if they're comfortable
Well, they're
going
gonna
forward.
bill us anyway,
Right.
so they would initiate.
They
the
wouldn't be
review.
paid up front anyway, so
Right.
it would just be time and materials by then.
Okay, yeah, good idea. Because it might take John a few days to get the check reissued.
Right, where there's this issue of personal concern for him, so.
Good idea.
And also, he asked me to check with Horsley and Witten as to whether this might initiate additional charges or not. My initial opinion was that because this is part of the normal requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act for a notice of intent project of this nature, and I didn't believe that this should result in any additional.
What's this?
The submittal of an
Oh.
operations and maintenance plan, and a
operations,
stormwater
yeah.
pollution prevention plan.
I
It's
was thinking of
supposed
that.
it's supposed to be part of the stormwater
Right.
report
Well, you can
to
ask
meet the
them,
regulations, so I will
just to
ask,
be clear.
I will ask Horsley and Whitman about that also.
Okay.
I just wanted to let the commission know that that question had been broached
Yep.
on it. Okay, so, did you folks all continue that?
We
Yeah, yes, we did.
Great.
He's in seventh grade. Seventh grade now.
Yeah, I
The
go
pumpkin
for
ball
you.
days are over.
I look for you.
Desperate.
How it is.
Maybe I should have just showed up anyway.
Probably was a social
Wouldn't have been
event.
thrown out there.
It's always a big deal.
Okay,
believe
we're moving on
that's
to the next one.
Item on our agenda.
So the next item on our agenda
Wasn't big.
is a 9 o'clock item entitled Offer of Land for Purchase by Town at 710 Haverhill Street, map 5, parcel 9, lot A. Present owner, Mr. John Breen. In this matter, we got a, I think it was an email, yeah,
Yes.
from Mr. John Breen on October 3rd of 2013. As follows. Good morning. My name is John Breen. I'm the owner of number 710 Haverhill Street, which is a parcel of land containing just under 2 acres of land, parentheses, non-buildable. I have a party that is interested in purchasing the land for its accessed value. I think he means assessed value. At the time of the subdivision, we discussed with the Conservation Commission possibly conveying the land for a future walking path, which never happened. I've since moved from the town, and the original parcel that I developed has been sold. I no longer desire to keep this last parcel. Would the town be interested in purchasing this parcel for its assessed value? If not, could I get a letter from the town stating such so that I can offer it to the other party? Please contact me with any questions. Thank you, John Breen. With his contact information. So the parcel in question, we have a sketch here that Brent has helpfully provided. It's a small portion of budding Haverhill Street. This is, just remind me, Brent, what's this street?
That's Ice Pond Drive.
It's Ice Pond Drive, that's right.
And
And then we have.
close to your nameplate in, from me, the far, yes, right where your pen is.
Yeah,
That is the conserved open space that is under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission from the Ice Pond
Okay.
Drive development.
no,
This actually stemmed from the Ashley Road subdivision where 3 lots were created, but it was only allowed to have 2 lots be buildable as access from Leslie Road. I received a subsequent email from Mr. Breen on October 16th. I'm sorry, should I didn't mean I kind of.
no, go ahead, that's fine.
Okay.
No,
Didn't mean to.
I've done plenty of talking tonight.
Yeah. He inquired on the 16th as to whether there was any interest, because he hadn't received anything. And I responded to him, the Raleigh Conservation Commission has received your emailed communication. As you can see from the attached schedule for 2013, the Raleigh Conservation Commission meets every 3 weeks, and the next meeting from the original receipt of your email is Tuesday, October 22nd, 2013. That scheduled meeting is the earliest opportunity for your communication to be considered by the commission. Please be advised that the Raleigh Conservation Commission may have need of additional information, for example, an independent land appraisal, in order to proceed with consideration of any possible land acquisition. I would like to call your attention to the possible consideration of IRS qualified tax benefits of land gifting, which has recently become an available option to landowners. The commission will be better able to respond after they have met to consider your communication. Thanks for your consideration. So, in preparation for tonight's meeting, because I had a recollection of this being connected to the definitive subdivision plan for Ashley Road, I looked up in the planning board's files, since their office is available to me, although unstaffed right now. And this is the first page of the recorded plan that's at Plan Book 315, page or sheet 88, which shows the section of this parcel identified as A with the frontage on Haverhill Street, with the specific notation that it is a non-buildable lot to be conveyed to the Conservation Commission. So seeing that, I also just made photocopies just to show that the plan sheet I was looking at had been both signed by the town clerk and also approved by the planning board, although the fact that it's a recorded plan is kind of
Hey.
confirmation of that.
I'll sit there. May the record reflect that Mr. Kurt Turner has made a late but welcome appearance.
Long day.
Yeah, I bet.
So anyway, these plans were prepared by Marine Engineering. So the fact that it appeared on the approved subdivision plans and said that it was supposed to be conveyed to the Conservation Commission piqued my curiosity in regards to why in fact there didn't seem to be a conveyance in the Conservation Commission. I've just found this out, so I haven't had an opportunity to do too much more, other than look up the recorded covenant, which I believe covered the requirements that the planning board had put in place for the Ashley Road subdivision. There appears to be a possible omission in the recording of the planning board's covenant. I do have a sequential group of pages here with stamped book and page from the registry. And on the bottom of what's recorded as page 40, in the registry's book is page 47, but labeled as number 3, condition number 11 says, notwithstanding anything contained here and above to the contrary, no release shall be granted for the restrictions set forth in sections 11, 12, and 13 herein, it being the expressed intention of the parties hereto that those restrictions shall run in perpetuity against the land. The problem is that the next recorded page, page 4, is signature page, and does not in fact have any numerical conditions 12 or 13. So,
Well done.
All right.
so that aroused my,
Question.
I don't want to use suspicions, but that aroused my curiosity as if that maybe there was some clerical error in recording of the covenants, and that where this refers to conditions in perpetuity, which would normally be attached to conserved open space or dedicated open space. I was wondering if by a error of omission in the recording of covenants, if in fact when it came time for the planning board to issue whatever their document of completion or whatever to the subdivision, that got missed.
Yeah.
And in fact, that this parcel which is being offered to us for purchase is actually, should have been already conveyed to us. I contacted Town Administrator Deborah Egan this afternoon and obtain permission to engage the services of Town Council for an opinion as to,
There's nothing else in the planning board file?
no, the planning board actually had a problem when they asked for the subdivision to be closed out or attested to its completion. They had a problem with even finding their files. I supposedly looked in the same files, which basically didn't have much in it except that and a request for the subdivision to be, again, whatever the correct terminology is for a completion.
I'm interested in what Mr. Breen remembers about this. 'Cause he's the grantor here. He and his wife.
Right.
Wasn't that long ago, 1997. Well,
Well, again, I don't know what else to do except to
Yeah.
possibly present this information to town council to find out whether any of this might have a substantive bearing on this particular offer, or whether in fact this is through whatever, if in fact errors occurred, if those errors are water under the bridge at this point.
sort of question is, we can't buy it from you because you already sold it to us.
You were supposed to convey it to us.
So you could reconvey it to us. We'll accept that.
Except the document doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't. Not this document. But
There's,
the recorded plan does, to be conveyed to the Conservation Commission, and that's a recorded plan, so.
right.
Has been conveyed.
Well, we'll see what town council
Says
says.
Got
big difference.
adequate minutes.
Future, not
Yeah, there's no
past.
minutes, right?
I don't know. I just,
That's all you've got.
I just discovered
Yeah.
this today. And again, just because there wasn't very much else in the planning board's files, this is all I came up with. We were presented with a slightly reduced copy of that covenant at the time the planning board had this under consideration for issuing their, completion certificate or whatever, and, I didn't notice this lack of numbered conditions. I just reviewed it and didn't see anything in there that was applicable to the Conservation Commission, so therefore I didn't, comment to the planning board, either,
Well, they didn't, it's not like they just forgot to record a page, because the pages go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
It's just that something got lost in the translation there. Well, let's see what town council has to say. More broadly, my thought about this sort of an offer, and I think I've talked to Kurt about this also, is that it's probably not the kind of thing we would recommend expending town funds on. I have a lot of doubt that he has a viable buyer. It's unbuildable, clearly, for a whole host of reasons. So it has not much economic value. That said, it does abut and it's contiguous with other conservation land that would not be without value to us.
Right. It has multiple layers of regulated wetland resource areas on it that would present a substantial hurdle to any type of development or construction activity utilizing it. It's floodplain, riverfront, bordering vegetated wetlands, because it's basically a stream corridor through most of it.
It's also subject to a recorded plan that says to be conveyed to the Conservation Commission. I'd have some
Right.
concerns if I were the buyer of that property.
And I honestly haven't asked the assessor's office, but I'm not sure that assessed value is necessarily a good yardstick and would hold a candle to an appropriate appraisal anyway.
Right.
So,
No, that's right.
Would something like that be found by a title search?
Yeah. I mean, I would, it should be.
Should be.
Should be, yeah. Because the,
That's what
yeah,
they're
it
looking
would
for.
almost have to be,
Yeah.
because the legal description is gonna refer to it. But even if you used an older legal description before the plan was drawn, it should have been conveyed into the Breens. It had to be because they are trying to convey it out, and so you follow it down from them. So I think I can't envision a scenario where we expend any more than nominal funds to acquire it. It does have the advantage that it's already been surveyed. It's, meets and bounds are not an issue
I was
on
gonna
this one.
say, yes, it's
Unlike that
documented.
swamp.
Another piece,
That-
yeah.
Right,
Mr. Ross was trying to sell us a few months ago.
right, yeah, that was, had no deeded descriptions of the property.
Right.
Do you have any idea of how much the taxes were on that? Are on
No,
that?
seem to know that.
I mean, apparently he's been paying his taxes, which surprises me. And it avoids the taking by the town for taxes, but
At one point in the past,
who would buy this?
at one point in the past, there was some kind of issue with the
Non-payment.
taxes, That may have been earlier when it was first attempted, the conveyance to the commission.
What's that you're looking at?
It's the field card from the assessor's office. It's
Doesn't
got a
have
number
any-
of different figures on it and stuff here, but I'm not, other than it just stating the appraised value, I don't
Oh, what's that?
see where it, 15,500. I don't see where it mentions what the assessed mill rate is that's applied to it.
Well, it's about
It's probably in the treasurer's office.
I mean, I think the hint you gave him is where you ought to be heading with it, but it's not for us to say. Possibly there's some kind of a tax deduction he could take by making it granting it to us.
And I
That'd
don't
probably
know
be
I don't know
worth-
whether that's still available, if in fact it turns out that this was supposed to have been done under the terms of
Yes,
the
that's right.
Ashley Road subdivision.
Well, yeah. But if we can't prove that either.
Well,
Certainly
which
would
is
be
why I
available.
sought permission to consult with town
Yeah.
council, because I figured in discussing this new information that I turned up with you tonight, that I would have to be able to offer that option in order for us to find out whether there is anything to what is documented in the subdivision plans.
Well, let's see what Judy has to say. Not you. Well, anything you have to say. I guess we'll just, we continue it, consideration of this to the next meeting, does that make sense? Probably hear from Attorney Pickett by then.
I would hope so. I mean, I don't know what kind of information would be needed, but I think where I found the recording information of the covenant and the recorded subdivision plans, that's a good start in terms of.
Oh, yeah.
I certainly would expect to hear if there was other things that I need to try and find.
Right. All right. Anybody have anything else to add on Mr. Breen's offer? So that brings us to status reports, permits, enforcement.
Could we do a motion?
Oh, you're right. No, we should do that. No, it's administrative, but still. So do I have a motion to continue discussion of the offer of land to purchase at 710 Haverhill Street? A motion to continue further discussion of that to the next meeting, November 12th, 2013.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All against? And the motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you. So now, status reports, permits, and investments.
I was requested to attend the selectmen's meeting last night in relationship to discussion about the possible acquisition by the town of Raleigh of what's identified as the Girl Scout property at 390 Weathersfield Street. The selectmen's appointment was for Dave Santamana of Essex County Greenbelt to discuss with the selectmen their interest in the process for possible consideration of acquisition of this property, as well as, I think, also trying to put out for public consumption the fact that the selectmen had requested $10,000 from the Community Preservation Committee for use in starting to gather information, which I assume, but don't know definitively for sure, would include possible appraisal as well as other fact gathering to find out and substantiate what might be the process that might be undertaken, which may involve other partners, since apparently 3 other entities have specifically indicated interest, and I'm afraid I don't know the specifics of all of them. I know the Ipswich YMCA, I believe. Another organization called Boat Camp, which I believe is out of Newburyport, that runs nature educational programs. I don't know whether they have a facility or would be looking for a facility, but they've apparently expressed interest in possible utilization of parts, if not all, of the Girl Scout camp. The other group that I had briefly met earlier in the first site visit, I'm afraid I do not remember the young lady's name, but it was a group that was interested in the possibility for disabled children or children with either physical or mental issues or concerns to possibly utilize the camp as an educational venue for those folks or that population through medical connections. Out of the selectmen's meeting, I emerged being designated as the person to present at the town meeting. Just brief identification of the parcel and some of its characteristics, and anticipating using some of the aerial pictometry or whatever, and just to possibly utilize some of the images I captured from the sidewalk showing some of the buildings and physical makeup of the property.
If I could interrupt for a second, I don't remember you saying this, but Brent made an excellent presentation to the Community Preservation Act Committee recently, and we did approve the amount of, what was it, $10,000 for this purpose, and that has been approved by the selectmen and will be on the town warrant, which is...
But that was the selectmen's presentation. My presentation to the CPC was only on the conservation restriction initiative with Massachusetts Audubon.
Okay, well, we did approve, that's right.
Yeah, I
Dave Peterson.
just didn't want you to give me glowing kudos for a presentation that somebody else made.
Oh, that's all right. You deserve them anyway. Yeah, we did approve the amount of money, and it will be on the town warrant. It is on the town warrant.
Yeah, well, I've been asked to make a
Show and tell.
video presentation of some of the attributes and characteristics of what we're all fondly calling the Girl Scout property.
Okay, so you're the point man on all this.
Yeah.
Yes, and I did also conduct a site visit, which Selectman Dave Peterson and Selectman Bob Mary attended, where we met the Georgetown Conservation Agent Steve Brzezinski at Camp Dennison in Georgetown, and looked at their facilities and received some good pragmatic advice in regards to Conservation Commission care and custody of a property that has facilities on it.
Camp Dennison is, just remind me, because Sam was asking me, it is on which street in Raleigh?
It's on Georgetown.
I mean, in Georgetown.
It's
New
on
Raleigh.
Nelson Street, which is not to be confused with, apparently they have a Nelson Avenue. I don't know what the name of the main road is, but if you're familiar where Noonan's Nursery,
Yes,
Is-
is that road?
well, just before that,
Yeah,
well, when I say before that, so you're coming out of Georgetown Center.
Square, yeah.
Four corners,
yeah.
and you're heading towards Topsfield, I think, Boxford, excuse me, Boxford.
And if you bear right, you go
So
towards
just
Lawrence.
before you get to Noonan's, there's this angular cross intersection. Now,
Yes.
I think the street to the left has another name, but the street to the right, which also goes to Baldpate
Yeah.
facility, is it
Yeah.
hospital or clinic or something?
And it's been a number.
Yeah, whatever it's called, they're usually just identified by a sign that says Baldpate, and it doesn't say much else. So that is Nelson Street, and the property is there. It has camp buildings on it, but it also is kind of centrally focused on a very large lodge or meeting house type building that has rooms that have large capacity, has an old kitchen, but it's very old camp style with absolutely no insulation or anything. You look up to the 16 or 18 inch on center rafters that are just 2x4s or 2x6s to the bare boards of the roof decking or whatever. And it has very typical camp type stove facilities that look like they hearken from the 1950s or whatever.
Because they do.
Because they
Yes,
do.
yeah.
Yeah, with still the ice box. And that
sounds right.
camp, but we were told they have an extremely active friends group, which is really the driving force, because basically the agent shared with us that the town would not have either the manpower or the money to engage in all the maintenance activities that are done out there. And this friends group, which apparently was active in the acquisition back in 1998, I think. The 96 to 98 period of time, I think, is when the town actually acquired the property.
What's it considered, simply a park?
Well, it has some forested aspects of it. It's on the shores of Baldpate Pond, which I believe also has state forest land, but then also some private property. And also crosses the municipal boundary into Boxford. I think there was some land swapping that went along with it. I don't actually know the overall acreage, so I'm gonna kind of guess, but it looks to me like, I think it was expressed to us that it was only like a 30 to 40 acre parcel, although I could be incorrect. There may have been other things added to it, maybe initially it was
Right.
like that size. Most of it is the
But my-
camp and
my-
lodge
My
facilities.
question is, what is it used for?
They have a full-time caretaker who resides there, who also acts as the maintenance booking agent for it, and they will entertain
Is any type of
wedding
use?
receptions, yeah, things
Any
like
public
that.
uses
Again,
or
you've got,
private uses?
Okay.
there's some, there must be some, with the older kitchen facilities, that must possibly crimp some of the
Yeah.
possible functions and things that can go on there, but they apparently do actively, rent it. And I was told that people go, for some functions that require consumption of alcohol, they go to the selectmen and
I think
request.
they might run summer camp projects there too, the private.
Yeah, I
groups
think there's
use it.
I think there's
Day camps,
a
yeah.
type of day camp.
I think so.
There was, what was the term? I was given some name for something that sounded like it was a pretty focused, active period of time when they solicited kids to come and
Yep.
learn archery, learn outdoor things. They've got a building that has sort of been modified to what they call a nature center that I guess has some microscopes so they can do ponding and then look at, like amoebas and stuff in the water and, do that type of thing. Whatever they do, allow people to camp there. I don't know whether there's a permitting process or not, but.
It's nice to have facilities like that that aren't subject to governmental shutdown.
It's true.
It was clearly expressed that most of what goes on there, though, is facilitated and happens because of the Friends group.
Makes sense.
So which is itself.
But the highway department does plow it.
Yep.
I don't know if they have a municipal lighting department, but they've been called in to, do some of the wiring and the telephone pole lights and stuff, and they have a fairly good, well-developed trail system out there. They kind of intersect, and I think they go on to, like I said, the town of Boxford, I think, has some conservation land, and then the state forest is nearby there, so I think it's possible to make interconnections with those other conserved properties.
Anything else we need to talk about in permits and enforcement?
I understand it has nothing to do with that, but it has to do with permits, is the doe season opened yesterday. So when we're traipsing about the woods, we need to wear our blaze orange, or whatever it's called.
Okey-doke.
It's with bows, it's bow season, so, but.
When I went-
Just as well.
When I went to do some trail clearing on the Brad Street Farm property, I found that the farm pond has apparently been subject to some development clearing activity and creation of a small beachfront with a single-person kayak and approximately
Where is this?
this is on the Brad Street Farm property. Here's the Brad Street, here's the only overall view I have of the Brad Street Farm parcel at this point in time. There is a farm pond
Yeah.
on the parcel. I don't know the level of accuracy. This was prepared by Graham Associates at some point in time in the process. But the farm pond is depicted as totally 100% within the conservation restricted portions that are under our care and custody. Not to mention that what has occurred there is numerous wetlands violations, cutting and clearing of vegetation, approximately 50 to 60 square feet, placement of sand for apparently the launching area for the single-person kayak, as well as all the cut brush and shrub material was just taken about 20 feet away and just dumped again.
What carries sand into there?
Yeah, that's not the substrate that exists?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, no, I agree
Now-
with them. Well,
Now, the diving board is not recent. I've been trying to figure out how to facilitate the diving board being removed. That does hearken from the Brad Street
Days.
owning the property.
It's Martian.
But
Not much of a drop in the water.
But I have a feeling that the new owner of the farmhouse and barn, who has young children, who he was telling me about, how he takes them riding on his tractor as he goes down and mows the perimeter of our fields.
I
down
think
there.
he's a possible perpetrator.
Well,
The children.
well,
it's the kind of kayak that you don't
No,
normally
that's a-
leave if you're not
Yeah,
close by to it.
I would think. Nor would you want to carry it really far in.
So
Not to
this
mention
is-
carrying the sand in.
yeah, that,
Which if you have a
Yeah,
tractor, it would be
Facilitate.
very easy to get down and off.
He hasn't got the biggest.
I headed down there solely to walk the trail the Boy Scouts had cleared, and I ended up doing a couple hours of clearing work because no one's done anything, and it still needs about an hour of work because a cherry tree fell right over right where it comes and makes its loop back into the other side of the end of that previously developed field that had a woods road that is utilized for the kind of connection to there.
It has been suggested by Bill Todd Frank Todd, same name, same person, I mean. On several occasions, he also having been a former chairman of this committee, that farm pond could be used to supply water to the community garden without going through expensive process of welding, but it's neither here nor there with regard to this situation, but.
Have you've spoken to this fellow that you just referred to, the farmhouse?
We are acquainted with Mr. Sabatini.
Okay.
Mr. Sabatini previously came to the attention of
That's
this
right.
commission for
Forgot
some
that
logging
connection.
activities
Yeah, I forgot that.
off of Jellison Road.
I wonder if a word with him might be the way to approach this before because we don't really know who did it. Although it does seem kind of,
No, it's just he probably does.
either he does or he did it. Yeah,
This is the
and I don't want to
smoking-
accuse anybody
case
of
of the
anything.
smoking
that he
kayaks.
did. Case of the smoking kayak. So possibly a word with him to the effect that you do understand that sand clearing and kayaks down there is strictly against the rules, and if you happen to know who's doing it, could you make sure they stop before they get a violation?
This is one of the reasons, though, where I requested and added an additional $500 to the request that I proposed to the CPC committee for some kind of marking and
Signage.
ornamentation, because, well, solely because, as you can see, this portion of the property which has these previously cleared and maintained fields, which also we had, I believe, Mr. Robert Colby approach us and gain our permission for the restoration so that he might hay down there. So there are no discernible physical landmarks. To be honest with you, the pond is the only discernible physical landmark near there. And I had to consult this plan because the definitive subdivision plan that the town actually utilized to get the surveyed descriptions for all these parcels and the subsequent proposed development activity up here for the affordable housing and for the private lot that has the historic preservation restriction containing the farmhouse and barn, doesn't show or give that feature at all, because their mandate was never to describe existing conditions down that far. They only were required to do it up where the proposed subdivision road was.
Well, so signage would be helpful. But
Well,
also-
what I'm trying to say is that I'm not sure that this definitively tells me that all of that pond is in fact actually under our care and custody. But besides that, though, you can look at this as just a
It's a
clear
wetland violation.
wetland and bylaw violation.
Yeah, which is, so, yeah.
The vegetation is definitely wetlands, either facultative, obligate, or at least
But-
fact wet.
But the issue is we don't really know
No.
who's the perpetrator, and we're not likely to find out except
Well,
by
I
dumb
could
luck.
bluntly ask Mr. Sabatini.
Well, that's kind of
if
what I'm
that's his-
saying, is rather, we can't send out a violation letter, at least I wouldn't be comfortable, because we can't say that he did it. I'm not gonna say he did it just because it seems like he's a likely candidate. But as I think someone here, Sam, I think just suggested, if he didn't do it, he might very well know who did it. Maybe be in a better position than anybody else.
Well,
So-
it's a delicate matter because, to be honest with you, his mowing of the perimeter of those fields is actually assisting us in
Mhm.
allowing folks
Yeah.
to walk. While I was
Right.
down clearing to get into the Boy Scout established trail or whatever, a number of folks, young women, possibly high school age or whatever, came just walking down to walk the perimeter of the field and go walk back up. So people are, so in that sense, and he had told me that he was mowing the perimeter, he just never told me he'd established a marina.
Well, and maybe he didn't.
Maybe, yeah.
So that's the thing. So if we're gonna do anything, we sort of have to enlist him as an ally here, I think. And I think it's, you know, maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think he's conscious that he's violating a rule, or whoever it is necessarily conscious they're violating any rules.
Most property owners don't.
No, that's right, exactly.
Otherwise, they probably wouldn't put.
Well, Mr. Sabatini's been before us at least 3 times.
Yes, there is that. I think we've had the sort of wetland discussion with the gentleman.
That doesn't mean it took.
No.
You're right.
All right, well, does that seem like a plan, Brent, that would be executable by you?
Well, I'll ask him
Just ask.
if he knows anything about
Yeah.
Yep.
the kayak, and I'll just see where that goes. And if you-
Do you know anything about the kayak I just confiscated?
if
Yeah,
you-
does the
Do it that
kayak
way.
have a
If
name
you
on it?
wish me to curb his clearing enthusiasm, or if you wish me to impart the fact that he's, now considered a violator of our wetland
Well,
bylaw.
yeah, only if he admits it,
Right.
because we don't know. I
Right.
don't feel we know. These, not everybody is as obvious about these things as, say, Mr. McHugh, who does his thing right by a public road in full view of everyone. So,
Which suggests he felt he had a right to.
well, that's right.
Right, exactly. In his impression, it is.
Or Mr., the other one that we just finished up, Mr., what's his name, D'Amato?
Oh, tomorrow.
Who, built a little parking lot for himself right on the public way. Not hard to see
Yeah,
that he was
crushed
doing that.
parking area, right.
Right. But he got that all cleaned up, right? I think I saw that.
Yes.
We were all set on that.
Yeah, I believe I copied you.
You
folks
did,
on all
yes.
that stuff,
All right. So any other permits, enforcement, or status?
Only just a brief mention that I received forest cutting plans on October 18th from the Tompkins Desjardins Trust in regards to parcels off of Long Hill Road and also extending into Georgetown. And there was 2 wetlands crossings indicated in that, so I requested a meeting with Mr. Bruce Tompkins and the forester who prepared his cutting plans, which is Gary Goldrup, who I previously met or whatever, and I did receive an invitation and met with Mr. Goldrup, and we walked the areas, and I had no concerns at all. They had done logging there about 20 years ago, or at least 10 years ago, and they were coming back on their 10-year cycle, and so the crossings were fairly well established in one case, and in the other case, it's probably a historic dug ditch that can very easily be bridged by just using some tree trunks, and if they're skittered and go over, you can just chain a couple trunks together and go across them, and then pull it back, and be none worse for wear. It won't interfere with the hydrology that the ditch is currently handling.
Good. Nice to have good stewards of land like that, who have a sense of what they need to do before they're told.
Well, it's
also
another-
nice that they sent you the forest cutting plan before.
Well, they're supposed to. The process
supposed to,
is
yeah.
that they send it to us, and we have 10 days
Yeah.
within which to
Right.
contact them. I did just get the service forester had approved the plans, and I received those just, I think, a day or 2 ago, so.
Okay.
But I just wanted to let you know, that's another aspect of conservation agent's job, is supposed to take a look at those on behalf of the commission and see if there's any proposed activities that might possibly be a concern.
Okay. What,
Did you mention our stream crossing seminar we attended last Thursday?
only to approve
Not
the bill?
specific.
Yeah. Was it helpful?
I thought so.
Yeah.
Very good.
This was in Wakefield? Where was it?
Yes, at the Sheridan.
Yes.
in Winfield. I actually have downloaded the PDFs of the presentations, so those are available, as well as if you would like, I can put them on a CD if you would like them.
No, it's okay, thank you.
What, speaking of forest cutting plans, where does the project, Mr. Comley's Main Street project there. You know which one I'm referring to, Brent?
It's still on my list to do to request a status update.
From
From
Mr.
Mr.
Comley and his
Conley.
attorney. Okay, just wondering if we'd gotten anything else on it. Nothing.
No. No, but I also was going to contact them and I hadn't gotten to that.
Okay. Anything else? Permit-wise, enforcement-wise, status-wise?
We heard anything from the state on that egregious violation not of table state?
Oh, that's the, thank you, Brent. I mean, thank you, Kurt. That's the other thing I've been meaning to ask Brent.
I'm sorry, what's this now?
The one, Redgate Road one? No, it wasn't Redgate Road, something.
Up in that area.
What's that called? No, it isn't. It's off of Haverhill
Oh, Haverhill Street, oh, the
Yeah.
Blair property,
Hmm.
yes.
property. What's the name of that street? It's a paper street.
Red Pine, well,
Red Pine
Yeah.
Road or something.
yeah, Red Pine Way, that
Yeah,
never went anywhere.
No,
so
it's really a
I
paper
hesitated to
country.
even use it, it was,
Right.
you know,
it's on some of the
it was a
maps.
failed subdivision proposal
Right,
from
shows up on
late
Google.
1999, 2001, I think. in that
Google
time.
Maps has it as a street.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as soon as you put a name on something,
Yep.
but it is right now just a shared driveway, I think, between 3
Right,
residential dwellings. Yes, I actually was given an indication that there was drafting of an administrative consent order underway on DEP's part.
okay.
And the consultant for the Blairs is actually keeping me apprised of the situation and says that they've been actually waiting for the Blairs to finish some work for which they expected to receive compensation so they can start paying for the massive survey and delineation effort that needs to be undertaken because of the large amount of impacted wetland resource areas.
Okay. So they're on it, otherwise, in other words.
They're on it. They've been notified. They are in consultation with DEP, and DEP did do a subsequent visit out to the property because he was involved in earth shifting, earth stockpiling activities, and did require him to implement appropriate erosion controls for the soils that he was working with property.
All right, that's good. Anything else in that region? We have one last item on the agenda if we're ready to move on. Are we done with that? Okay. Personnel evaluation of conservation agent baseline. So the way we are going to do this is that we are going to follow a prescribed performance evaluation process in which we I'll just review my notes here. The performance evaluation is conducted in an open session, public meeting. That's the part we're going to do first. And then the performance evaluation document will be prepared in executive session at the request of Mr. Bazelak, and it's actually the reverse. Mr. Bazelak would have to waive his right to have it exempt from public records law, to have it a public record, and my understanding is Mr. Bazelak does not wish to do that. So we will conduct the evaluation in public and then go into executive session to complete the written document. That's the process we're going to follow. Does everybody understand? Okay.
I have a question. Do I also understand that
What are we doing?
We are doing the public evaluation portion of it now with the public present and with the camera on and so forth.
I haven't reread this material recently, but my understanding is that we cannot add or subtract anything we say in open session when we do the confidential part.
I'm quoting here from the guidance given us by Ms. Egan of the town. The executive session is solely for the ministerial purpose of filling in the form that was previously discussed and voted upon in open session. And the reason that it's an executive session is to preserve the right to keep it exempt from the public records law as a personnel evaluation. And Ms. Egan apologizes for the complicated process, but it's a result of a number of laws that all make a lot of sense separately. Open meeting law, public records law, privacy law, and this is a place where they all three impact what we're doing, so this is how we have to do it. All right, so let's see. Here's our motion. Oh.
I'd just like to say before we do this is that I find it extremely annoying. This kind of process has to be done in open session where, regardless of the fact that you're filling out the form in the private section, it's on camera and is available for anyone to see. No other town employees in the areas of education, police and fire, as far as I know, have to go through this kind of thing. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Certainly teachers don't get evaluated in this manner. And it's a process that does not lend itself to full open disclosure, because there are things that people might want to say in public and on camera. And and to that extent, the value of the evaluation can be questioned. But anyway, that's a political beef I have, and I strongly object to doing this in public. Anyway.
My understanding is the quirk of the open meeting law is that because we are a multi-member board or committee is why we're subject to this aspect of the law. And that's why, for example, firemen don't have to put up with that. And I don't think that anybody necessarily intended that distinction, but that's the way the law reads. That's my understanding of the way it's been explained to me. So it doesn't even have a rational explanation. It's just how it is.
One more stupid governmental bureaucratic mess has no significance or meaning.
Yes.
Other than in terms of generalities. Sorry.
Okay. So, I would like to say initially that in my view, Mr. Bazelak does an excellent job in all aspects of his job. I thought this for some years of his employment. My opinion hasn't changed. I think he steps up for the town in a way that many employees don't, does above and beyond his normal tasks. Just as you were describing to us earlier, Brent, you are asked by the selectmen to take on additional tasks. You don't get additional pay for those, but you do them willingly. You get those responsibilities because you're capable of them and they know it. I think you're well thought of by pretty much everyone in this town. So that's my first comment. Does anybody else have anything they want to add before we proceed through the form here?
As Vice Chair, I would like to not only echo what you say, but go beyond it. I think Brent is one of the most valuable town servants that I've ever come across in any capacity, and his performance and dedication to the job goes far beyond, I think, what most ordinary mortals would do in these circumstances. I've been collecting a Brent file, which is a fairly thick sheet of commendations he's received over the last 2 years in all areas and from just about everybody he ever deals with. And he's consistent with this. He doesn't try to put on a show before performance evaluation time. It's sort of all year round that he does this. And the only area that I would not rank him excellent on would be under item 9, work environment and safety, and I would rank him good on that. I think there could be slight improvement there in the future performance session with regard to recognizing that the office environment is one where what goes on in the office with regard to business of the commission and business of the office can be overheard in other areas, and it just needs to be something that needs to be kept in mind for the next the next review session.
I would add to that thought, which I shared to the extent that I think it happens, but I think there's a point in this form where it is discussed. Maybe not so specific. Yes, work environment and safety, number 9. The office that we give Brent is functionally obsolete. It is
Yeah.
very difficult environment to work in. You calling it a cubicle would be giving it way too much dignity. It is, divided from other workspace by nothing more than file cabinets, if that, and it's very awkwardly shaped and doesn't have adequate storage. And that's not even getting into the heat, air conditioning, and light issues. So it's very difficult to do that aspect of that job well, given the poor office that we're afforded. Just the same, it's an issue sometimes we gotta do better on.
On the plus side of that office, I would add that he, ever since he's been with us, he's made a strenuous effort over these years to reorganize the filing system and to make it a sane place to deal with in terms of looking up records and things, and has done a superb job in that. And as an example of his overall service to the town and whatnot, I was in here recently, I think it was last week sometime, and Brent had come in and had washed all the downstairs windows on that side of including the offices that deal with the Board of Health and the Planning Board, so that the view could be improved and the amount of light that comes in could be cast better views of what goes on in those offices. So.
Well, thank you for that, Brent. I didn't know you did that. And that's typical of you, Brent. You don't tell me that you did it, because you're not doing it for the credit. You're doing it for the good of
Doing
the
it for the
town.
light.
Maybe just doing it for the light, but still.
I mean, Wendy,
Nonetheless.
I was standing there talking with Brent, and Wendy from the health agent's office came running up to me from her back office and said, "Look out there." And I looked out and I said, "Looks like they got a new roof on the property next door." And she said, "No, the window's been cleaned. You can actually see the roof." And Brent did it.
I hope that was the inside of the windows and you weren't climbing out on the
Oh,
window
no, we
ledge.
went outside too.
I have a fold-up ladder. I just haven't done the top of the
You're not gonna get there
sash
with
down there.
hard to get up there.
All right, anyone else have anything to add in general terms? Let's proceed to the performance appraisal. The scheme of this form is you have a choice of 5 ratings, as is typical: excellent, good, satisfactory, fair, or unsatisfactory. And then there are categories below that in which we are to grade Mr. Bislak on each. So the first item, item 1, is his responsibilities. That is actually not, as I read this form, that's not a rated item. It's more something that we are to describe. So I would propose describing Mr. Bislak's responsibilities as, in addition to the ones in his town job description, there are a number of additional things that he does. When we last reviewed him, he had just taken on stormwater regulatory compliance and reporting. Still have that job. Isn't in your job description as far as I'm aware. Maybe it is now.
Yeah, actually been.
Has it been upgraded for that?
Well, it's been
Yeah.
upgraded to be the specific
All right.
preparer of the stormwater.
And then I think something that just comes up more and more is just selectmen support. Is that as they need support in your areas of your expertise, they come to you and ask for it. And this camp, Girl Scout camp thing is a perfect example. There's really no one else in the town that's in a position as good as you to help them with that. But it's, it's an extra level of responsibility. So I would propose to describe responsibilities as all of those in the job description, plus selectmen support, and if it isn't already in their stormwater compliance. Anything else that we should be adding, Brent? There's a come on since the last year. Never take anything away.
Well, there's other entities that he has to deal with, or actually, in a way, he's more like a liaison with the town council. You know, and so, I mean, he has to interact with a lot of other agencies within the town. And police, fire, you know. And at times, even other towns' commissions.
That's a good point.
It's not part of his job description, but I think the fact that Brent is also a conservation commissioner for the city of Haverhill adds a large dimension of professionalism to the job that he brings to Rowley and improves that. And it's rare that we have the opportunity to have an agent with that kind of background.
That might go well under item 2, accomplishments. In addition to doing a good job in all of his areas of responsibility, he's, I'm impressed. I'm honestly always impressed, Brent, by how you constantly improve your knowledge and broaden your knowledge, and you know, you're always looking to improve the quality of your work. I don't know that every agent does that, but you know, I think it's impressive. Yes, we pay for it, but you spend the time to go to those seminars, and you make the effort to do it and ferret them out and travel to them and stay up to date. It's I would just like to add, when I was speaking with Mr. Geddes, the Audubon fellow out in the hallway earlier, he had nothing but good things to say about you, and was extremely complimentary about what a lucky town we are to have an agent that's as effective as you are and as dedicated as you are to this. So, also was very complimentary to the town, which was nice to hear. He said it is really impressive that a town of this size would put up that much money for public space. A lot of towns wouldn't do it, and I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it is. He was speaking of the Rough Meadows, but you know, we saw it on the Brad Street Farm also. This town is willing to step up.
I think that one of the things that impresses me is that Brent takes his experience as a commissioner and he treats us as he would want to be treated. At least that's my impression. I'm of the opinion you don't necessarily get that over in April.
I prefer not to comment on that.
It is on television, right? Who knows?
That's, I don't think anyone from Haverhill's watching it.
I'm forever indebted to the Haverhill Conservation Agent who passed me the email that had been flung into the ether by Mr. Ashcroft when you were... Ashworth, excuse me, when you were bereft an agent and drowning in piles of files in the office.
Those were not good days. All right, moving on to job knowledge. And now we get into the rating system. So we have for job knowledge, E, G, S, F, and U. Excellent, good, satisfactory, fair, and unsatisfactory. I think, in my opinion, that is a resounding E. 25 points, I guess. Those are points for there. I think your job knowledge is really impressive. Agreed? Agreed.
Yes.
Disagreement? Disagree if you do. Job performance, item number 4. Neatness, thoroughness, accuracy, and overall quality of the employee's work. Again, I can't see any justification in my mind for less than E25. If anyone has any comments, this is the place to express them.
Just point him to his office.
Yeah, right. That's right. Item 5, job productivity, quantitative. The employee demonstrates a commitment towards achieving, tasks are completed efficiently and effectively.
Yes.
Again,
E.
E,
Yes.
disagreement, yes. Dependability, employees can be relied upon to complete assigned tasks and to be conscientious about their attendance and timeliness. Absolutely. It's another E. Trying to remember, well, the last time we did this had the whole episode with the water department occurred yet. This was January 2012. I'm thinking
Oh.
it had not.
Might not have.
I think it was just about to happen.
Yeah, it's close.
Because that was an interesting example to me of it was your day off. And the only reason the thing ever came out the way it did was it was your day off and you were driving around town. I think you were here because you were putting in extra
I was
work.
about to leave,
Yeah.
I was about to depart.
And it made quite a difference in how that all played out. And that was just an example of doing above and beyond the job. Would have been very easy to look the other way, say, well, it's my day off, I'm not going to deal with that today. But that's just not you. That's not what you would do. Cooperation, item 7. Employee demonstrates a willingness to work with associates, subordinates, supervisors, and others. Responds willingly to changes in procedure, process, responsibility, and assignments. Speaking as Brent's direct supervisor, I would give him an E on this. He's extremely willing to work with me. I think probably everyone else finds him the same way.
Yep, I agree.
And initiative, if I could give you an 11 on this, I'd give you an 11 instead of a 10. I think you think and act very independently, and that the example I just gave is a good example of that.
And with good judgment, and he has good rein on that judgment, and when he feels a need for support, advice, or if someone has an alternative, he feels free to come to us on those things.
I agree. Work environment and safety, we've had some comments on that already. And just for the record, I'm not filling out the form now, I'm keeping notes on it so that we can fill out the form. That's all I am doing. Work environment and safety is described as maintains a safe, pleasant work environment, follows safety regulations, and actively contributes towards a safe workplace. I think we can, probably all of us, do better under the limited office facilities that we have of trying to separate clients' business from other people. I'm not sure that it's possible to do a lot of the time. It's impossible for your phone conversations, for example, not to be heard by everyone else in the entire end of the annex here. There isn't another way to do it, and it's just the reality of the environment. So that brings us to overall rating, and I would, again, I find no reason in my mind to say less than E10. Anyone disagree?
No.
I agree.
That gives you, Brent, an overall rating of whatever the sum of the biggest numbers is. I believe it's 100.
2 points off if we go with good on
Oh,
item 9.
do we wish to? What do you think? I mean, my view is that's just, the limitations there are just not Brent's fault. I'll be frank about it.
Oh, he does the best with what he's got.
Yeah, I think the points are made. I can go with 10.
And it does add to 100
Yeah.
for all these.
Well, the two standards carrying the highest point score are job knowledge and job performance. And I certainly think think you could probably add a plus to those ratings if I'm 11.
That's right.
Or whatever. I think the select people through Debbie Egan sent a letter of, you know, of its evaluation and other
You're right.
things that they do for,
We did. And I got a copy of it, but I don't think I have it at hand.
same here.
Is the office copied on that, friend? Do you remember?
I think I was, but I'm surprised they don't have it here. It might be in the office.
In any event, it was very commendable. I think it's unfair that the selectmen don't sit down and do the same thing we're doing here today as part of this process, considering all the things they have them do.
That's a good point. Okay, well, that brings us to the interim appraisal. I would, since we can't seem to lay hands on it, we received a letter from Ms. Egan, Selectman's administrative assistant, essentially, as I recall, commending Brent for his efforts and performance in assisting the selectmen with the various tasks as we've described. And I can't remember the exact words, but I believe that's the gist of it. Okay. Any other comments before we go into executive session to formally fill out the performance appraisal? In that case, bear with me here.
Need a motion, do we have to poll ourselves as to?
We do, but I have a very specific,
Yeah, I gave Doug.
I just gotta find it. Here we go. A very specific motion.
Does TV picture?
It does at some point. I need a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of complying with or acting under the authority of the public records law and the general privacy statute in connection with the drafting of the written performance evaluation document, and to not return to open session, but rather to adjourn. So do I have that motion to go into executive session? And then if it is made and seconded, there will need to be a roll call vote. And then the camera will be shut off. We'll go into executive session and we will not reconvene. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you poll the members?
Dave Delmonico.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Or I.
Yeah, that's what I was
There we go.
thinking.
That's it.
Bob Garner.
Aye.
Judy Keys.
Aye.
Sam Strife.
Aye.
Kurt Turner.
Aye.
Doug Watson.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
It's unanimous, so we are now going to enter executive session for the purpose of completing the performance evaluation document.